In this video, I will find the second derivative of this function here, f of x equals x plus 1 over x. And this is using the limit definition of the derivative. So what we need to do is we need to first use the limit definition to find the first derivative, and I'll do that in this space. And then once we have the first derivative, we can do the same thing to find the second derivative. Okay, so for the first derivative, f prime of x. This will be the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So for this problem, and now you can see how we're going to run out of room very quickly, we have x plus h plus 1 over the whole quantity x plus h, because we're plugging in x plus h anywhere there's an x. Just think about keeping it together, x plus h, anywhere that there's an x. And then we're subtracting off this whole quantity, x plus 1 over x. Okay, so it's important to keep those parentheses in mind. If you find yourself struggling with these problems with doing the algebra, chances are you're missing some parentheses somewhere, or you're not plugging in the quantity x plus h for x. You can't just add h onto the end. That will be different. Okay, so now let's try to simplify. So we have x plus h and then minus x. So I'm going to basically move this over to try to group them together. And then plus 1 over x plus h minus 1 over x. So again, this negative needs to be distributed. So we have negative x and we have negative 1 over x. So I haven't simplified anything, I've just sort of rearranged. Now we can cancel these x terms. And then the other thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to get a common denominator here to try to combine these fractions. Okay, again, we still have our limit. We haven't taken our limit yet. And now our common denominator is going to be x times x plus h. We can't just add on h. You're not allowed to add h to the numerator and denominator. You have to multiply by the same thing. It doesn't work to add the same thing to the numerator and denominator. So we'll multiply the first fraction by x. We get x over x plus h. And we'll multiply the second one by x plus h. And again, this is all over h. Okay, so now we can see how these things combine. Again, watch the negative sign here. We're subtracting this whole quantity x plus h. So that's subtracting x, subtracting h. Okay, and let's pull this to the next line. So now we have negative h up here and x over x plus h here. And instead of dividing by h, at this point, let's just multiply by 1 over h. Okay, so we're basically taking this and pulling it out on the side here. We could also get a common denominator and put the h, this h, into the numerator, but doing it this way, we can just go ahead and cancel. Okay, so think about canceling h in both terms. We get 1 minus 1 over x plus h. Okay, and now we can take the limit. We can use the difference rule to take the limit of the first part, which will be 1, and to take the limit of the second part, which will be 1 over x times x. Okay, so we get the answer 1 minus 1 over x squared. Now, again, that's the first derivative. All of this has been to do the first derivative. To take the second derivative, we look and we can use the same definition, except for instead of f, we have f prime here and here. Okay, so let's do that. So the second derivative, f double prime of x, will be the limit as h approaches 0 of f prime of x plus h, which will be 1 minus 1 over x plus h squared minus 1 over, so minus 1 minus 1 over x squared. This is f prime of x over h. Okay, so let's try to simplify this. Again, when I subtract here, I'm subtracting 1, and I have 1 here, so those will cancel. And then this gets combined here, and I end up adding. So I have negative 1 over x plus h squared, and then I'm adding 1 over x squared. And what do you think is going to happen? Well, we're going to have to combine these again. So we're going to end up with a common denominator of x squared times x plus h squared. So I end up with negative x squared over x squared, x plus h squared. And then on the other side, over here, I'm multiplying by x plus h squared. Okay, and now let's just take this 1 over h out on the side, okay? It'll make things a little bit easier to read. Okay, I need to multiply out the numerator and sort of hope that things cancel. So I have negative x squared plus x squared, that's good, plus 2xh plus h squared, all over now x squared, x plus h squared times h. Okay, we are finally almost done. So these x squared terms cancel. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out that h term. So I have h times 2x plus h over x squared, x plus h squared, h. And now I can see how the h terms cancel. And now I can take the limit as h goes to 0. I get 2x in the numerator, and I get x squared times x squared in the denominator. And this would simplify to 2 over x cubed, right? Because one of the x terms cancels. And so I wind up with x cubed in the denominator.